All right, here we go.
Hi everyone. Today's video is going to be a little different. I promise
There's no
we'll be
sound.
back to our regularly scheduled programming in the next video. But before we get started, I need to thank everyone who reached out to me after the last video. It really did help my mental state
Your sound is low, but you should have it.
energize me to fight the fine fight. Today I want to tell you why I chose to sign the Recall Gavin 2020 petition and why I think that the salon industry can save California and maybe even the country. And yes, I'm going to read it because I really want to get my thoughts out properly. So I'm going to give you 3 reasons why I chose to sign the Recall Gavin 2020 petition. Number 1, Newsom is not a leader. True leaders do not need to use fear to intimidate the citizens into obeying. They lead by example and reasoning, so that the citizens understand why it is in their best interest to willfully follow the leader. A leader does not demand compliance. Compliance is freely given out of respect. A leader instills confidence in followers, not fear. Governor Newsom is a bully and uses threats to get the citizens to comply with his unconstitutional mandates. He is not a leader. He is a dictator. Number 2, Newsom is a hypocrite. While his mandates require that the citizens of California not be with any members outside of their household, or go to dinner, or visit a salon, he is hubrisly attending birthday parties at upscale restaurants. And his Auntie Pelosi is getting her hair done, violating the mandates they put forth, yet destroying the salon owner's life and forcing the salon closed. While our children are not allowed to attend school, his children are able to attend their private school. Then he lies and gives a BS explanation and apology, fully knowing there are no repercussions for his actions. Unlike the citizens he demands compliance of, who face charges, jail time, fines, and license revocation, which would destroy their lives. If this doesn't reek of an Antoinette situation, I don't know what does. This man is a hypocrite of the highest evil. A true hypocrite that cannot be reasoned with because he cannot see his own double standard. Number 3, Newsom has mismanaged this state. Even before COVID, California had a major mismanagement problem. Between rampant wildfires, homelessness like no other state, out-of-control rents, a poor school system, and roads that resemble a third world's, despite paying the highest taxes in the union, most Californians questioned whether they have a future in the state. Now, we put COVID on top of all of this and a third lockdown. If the first 2 lockdowns did not help, why is a third going to? This leads me to the conclusion that either Newsom does not know what he's doing, or there is a nefarious reason behind the lockdowns. Regardless, I do not know anyone whose lives are better since he became governor. In fact, most people I know, including myself, aren't even baselining. Our cost of living goes up while our income stays the same and our taxes go higher. The mismanagement, for whatever reasons, are affecting our daily lives, and we have no choice but to flee, if we can afford it, or stay and fight. These are just my top 3 reasons why I signed the Recall Gavin 2020 petition. If you resonate with even one of these reasons, you need to sign the petition too. It's very easy and only takes a few minutes. Go to recallgavin2020.com for instructions, and if you need help, reach out to me. We are over halfway to the amount of signatures that we need. There are around 800,000 licensees of the beauty industry in California. If we all sign, we will have the signatures we need to remove him from office. There are rumors that this man may run for president someday. Can you imagine the devastation? We can't let that happen. If he is recalled, he won't be able to. We have until March to get the rest of the signatures, so please don't wait. So you have to go to recallgavin2020.com. That is the petition that has the most traction. If we split it up between other ones, it's not going to work. So this is what the website looks like. Okay. Go to that site and print out the petition. You have to physically print it out and send it in, okay? And there's room for additional signatures if anyone that you know wants to sign it. So read all the instructions on the site. If you have any questions, you can also reach out to me. I actually know a little bit about this. I'm in touch with people who are in touch with the people running the petition. Okay, I'm done. We can move on. If you liked this video and it resonated with you, please give it a like so that I know. Also, subscribe and hit the notifications bell to stay updated on what's happening with this. All right, thank you again.
California is in a crisis right now. Our state's been hit hard by the coronavirus outbreak that escalated since the beginning of the year. The outbreak has done a lot of damage to the state's economy. We are seeing record numbers of unemployment in the state. People are losing their jobs. People are having difficulties paying their bills, their mortgages, their rent. Businesses are closing down in the state. But there's another crisis that occurring here in the state of California that will have negative implications on the economy long term. And it's the fact that for several years now, there has been a large exodus of people and businesses move out of the Golden State. California is on the verge of becoming a hemorrhaging state. It's on track to catching up to New York and Illinois. Our growth rate in 2018 was 0.47%. We saw about 700,000 people in 2018 leave the state of California. And in the annual year from July 2018 to 2019, the growth rate was 0.35%. UC Berkeley did a poll in 2018 and asked registered voters how they felt about the direction of the state, have they considered leaving, and 52% of registered voters have considered leaving California, 66% of millennials have considered leaving. They cited the high cost of living as the main reason why so many of them wanted to leave. Businesses also are leaving the state of California. Businesses like Toyota moved out in 2014, moved to Texas, and Carl's Jr., which was founded here in California, moved their headquarters to Nashville, Tennessee. California is one of the most taxed states in the nation. We have the highest income tax, we have one of the highest sales tax, one of the highest corporate tax, we have the highest gas tax. And all these taxes become burdensome for middle-class Californians. That's why the majority of them are the ones that are leaving and not the wealthy. The homelessness is a symptom of the high cost of living. Many of the homeless residing along the coastal areas, you see large numbers of them in Los Angeles and in San Francisco and in San Diego. And there are about 500,000 homeless in the country, and a quarter of them are here in California. There are 150,000 homeless in the state.
Yeah, so it's kind of rough. I can take care of myself. Look, about 2 or 3 weeks, I get in a hotel room with my checks, but the last week it just went down low, so I can't make it that good. It's rough.
And if this trend continues, where these problems continue to escalate, our government is not doing a good job addressing these issues, then more and more people are going to leave the state. Instead, they're going to push for policies that make the state more expensive, like passing a gas tax, pushing for, trying to push for initiatives to repeal parts of Prop 13 that protects property taxes in the state, trying to enact legislation, radical legislation like a single-payer bill in 2017. If this continues, more You know, they will push for policies that will make it expensive and more people will want to leave the state. There was a time California was the state to live in. This was the state to retire. People moved to the state from all across the nation. Our roads were the best. The cost of living was much lower. We did not experience a homeless crisis like back then like we do today. And now that's all changed. We are seeing more and more people leave the state of California due to the rising cost of living, to the rising housing prices. Our roads, our schools are some of the worst are in the nation. Our electricity bills are more expensive now. And no act of God made this happen. It was the acts of our government. So for many Californians out there, we feel that it is time for a change and we need a change in leadership. So me and a partner want to do a documentary. It's exploring the failure by our current leadership and their inability to address these issues. California can be a great state, but in order for that to change, voter behavior has to change. So please join our movement to support a new direction for California. Thank you.
I'm Mike Netter. I'm one of the main proponents of RecallGavin2020.com. It's important to note that this is a live petition. This is not a drill. You print out the petition and it must be signed in wet ink, which means if you're a registered voter, you have to go and sign it. Now, it's important to understand that we have to recall the governor of California, not only if you're for or against the governor of California, but to open up the conversation and give the public a chance to voice their opinion as to what they want the future of the state to be. This has started with a small group of patriots. We're nonpartisan. It's not backed by big money to the right or big money to the left or frankly hardly any money at all. There are 800,000 signatures right now. We have until March 17th. Now, what a recall does is this. It triggers a special election. And in that special election, what you're allowed to do is vote if you want to keep Gavin as governor, yes or no. Guess I'm voting no, you can tell that. And then you get a vote from a slate of candidates. And if enough people vote to take Gavin out of office, the top vote getter instantly becomes governor. We have a chance to change the direction of California. For those of you out there that don't know, there's a supermajority in the state Senate, and there's a supermajority in the state assembly, which means one party in California has had power for over a decade. That ends badly for any society. What's even stranger yet is Newsom is issuing executive orders up and down the state to shut down restaurants, to close our schools, to do everything possible to curtail our freedoms, to keep our lives down, and he's doing it without the approval of his own assembly and Senate. That is illegal under the California Constitution, and that's why when it finally goes to court, they rule against him. Restaurant owners are not allowed to open. When they do open, they're actually charged an extra charge for serving on the sidewalk, and because of that, the state is actually getting an extra surplus. What's all this mean? What can you do about it? I'm going to tell you what you could do about it. You've got to go to RecallGavin2020.com. When you print out an 8.5 by 11 petition, here's what we ask. Print out 10 petitions and get 50 signatures and mail them in to us. We have them verified and send them in to the Board of Registers. Understand, this is your last chance not only to save California, it's also your last chance to save the country, because Gavin Newsom plans on running for president. Now, there's 5 things I ask everybody to do. Print, sign, mail, and donate if you can. This is all being done with the people. We're doing it for 89 cents a signature. Understand that normally a political movement like this would cost $4 a signature. If you could contribute $10 or $20, that helps us verify and put in about 40 to 80 signatures. Print, sign, donate, and most importantly, participate. Participate means go out and tell other people about the recall. This just in, the mainstream press is not covering this because they're afraid to cover it. They're afraid of going against the people that control the state. They're afraid of going against the infrastructure of the state itself. RecallGavin2020.com.
The state's looming restrictions are reigniting an effort to recall Governor Gavin Newsom.
Many local business owners are now backing that campaign, and CBS 13's Marissa Perlman is live at the state capitol tonight with that growing fight. Marissa.
Yeah, that's right. This petition was created back in June and already has half the signatures it needs to call for a special election this coming March. And the small business owners behind it say the governor's latest policy change for them was the last straw.
It's hard on everyone.
Crystal Mitchell, emotional, talking about opening her business, Salon Cuvée, 1 year ago. The impending stay-at-home order may be a death sentence to her shop.
How are we going to get through this time?
Inside the salon, you'll see this sign and petition.
You can have one of these.
And hairstylist Diana Chopin going to neighboring businesses and clients, rallying for support to remove the governor from office. Diana volunteers for the campaign 10 to 12 hours a week. She says more small business owners are joining the movement and getting vocal about it.
My livelihood is at stake once more, so we need you to sign.
Orrin Heatley created the campaign in June. He calls it a nonpartisan effort that's heating up, in part because of support from frustrated small businesses.
It's grown, exponentially ever since his French Laundry debacle where, he attended the birthday party.
The last time California recalled a governor was Gray Davis in 2003, replaced by Arnold Schwarzenegger. So could the recall actually work? Our political analyst says it will take a visible candidate to step into the governor's role and a lot of cash.
Could this conceivably happen again? Yes, it could happen again. Is it likely? Well, let's see where things go in the next few weeks and what people feel like if and when these lockdowns happen.
Those lockdowns could happen any day now. The campaign has 800,000 signatures. It needs 1.6 million by March 10th. That's the deadline. We did reach out to the governor's office for comment on this petition and have not yet heard back.
Go ahead, Mike.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this town hall this week. Dan, you got the spotlight on there?
Yep.
Okay. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Cordy is off on a bus this week working with the Trump campaign. A lot of exciting things happen, and I think the most exciting thing that's happening is we're getting the attention. This movement is literally going nationwide, globally, and we'll talk about that in a second. We have two guests on tonight that are going to talk about that, but I want to start off like I do a lot of shows by reading to you a little bit. This came out today, and you saw comments of various videos. And before I forget, everybody asked where the videos are, how they can use them, and what they could do. We've been neglecting and telling you we have a YouTube channel where we have probably close to over 100 different videos posted that anybody can take and move around to get the word out across the landscape through every little quarter. Remember, we need money to get this done, but the name of the game is signatures, is getting people to sign. And on all the streets that you see today, Graham is going to be on in just a little bit, sent me a video of San Diego. We were down in Los Angeles, you saw this weekend. Everywhere you go, from every corner, people are starting to grasp on the fact that the state of California needs a change. And for everybody that's here or watching on Facebook Live tonight, the movement, the actual recall itself was continuing to grow. You know, I'm amazed every week. I happen to look at the stats before coming on. We have 8,200 people watch this little show that we do each week. More importantly, what we're really starting to see is not only the mainstream getting a hold of it, but Gavin Newsom himself is getting wind of this. And we know he's had wind the whole time and paying attention. And I'm going to read to you from a San Francisco publication, which I never thought I would be on our town hall doing. The headline, report, Gavin Newsom's team increasingly concerned about recall efforts. Think about that. Near the bottom of a Politico report, Newsom's chief of staff, Ann O'Leary, preparing to depart Sacramento. Notice how they're starting to get out of Dodge as the heat goes on there, leaving us with what's left for a potential job, says she rests this spicy nugget. I love that. And Newsom begins his third full year in office. The governor's team is increasingly concerned with a long shot conservative recall. Ain't no long shot no more. That's my line. that could mushroom into a major threat in 2021 that attracts a significant financial support. We are doing this as the people. A little push is going to get us over the line. Literally, Orrin and I were laughing earlier, and I'm going to give Orrin a chance to talk in a second, maybe. The days for us are flying by right now with activity. It's every day, it seems every minute we're doing something to push the ball up. Orrin had a call today from the AP. I'm literally going to be in downtown LA because we had a call from Italy. That's right. Italy wants to do a live story on the recall. It's going global, my friends, and it's being done by the people. And Italy, in case you haven't heard it, is a wee bit liberal. It's catching on. The movement is catching on. It's all because of all of you out there every day doing everything you can to gather a few signatures. Orrin, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me, Mike?
Unfortunately, I can't, Orrin.
Welcome to Words in Edgewise. You can join the conversation if you can fit a word in between Mike and Orrin. So, you're right, Mike. And you mentioned that, people are fleeing the state. And my wife just let me know just moments before this town hall that, and this is unconfirmed, but she had a report that Elon Musk has packed up his shop and he's fleeing the state. So, Randy, you might be able to elaborate on that if you know more about it. I see you nodding your head. But, folks, I'm sorry, Elon, stay and fight, brother. This is our fight. Join the people. And, we'll fight with you. We'll fight for you. We'll fight for your business. This is a people's movement. And, those who have the resources are leaving the state in droves. They're fleeing the state. And, for good reason, because of this failed socialist agenda that they're pushing on us. And, those of us that are still here left to fight, this is a battle between good and evil. And you all know, Mike mentioned funding. Every fight requires funding, requires, the backing of the people. And this is how we're going to get this done, folks. I can't tell you enough. We're fighting with you. We're fighting for you. This is an all volunteer effort right now. It's a grassroots effort. There's an upwelling of support from the people in your communities up and down the state. The recallgavin2020.com team is fighting on your behalf, with you, for you, every step of the way.
Hey, Orrin, is it true that Tesla's going to make a moving van? Just checking. Might be an idea. One thing before we even get here, it's really hard to keep up when we talk about this every day. Not only are stories breaking about the recall, but the stories that are literally coming out and get people to pay attention to them. Stories that are coming about our EDD, our lovely, whatever the heck that stands for, doesn't matter. They're actually giving unemployment to prisoners. Yes, you heard correctly. Not only will the state of California send you to jail, feed you, and release you early, but we're going to send you cash. They've done it probably close to the total of $2 billion. But wait, there's more. In addition, it comes out in this morning or last night, the days all blur together, that companies that Gavin Newsom, I think it's 6 or 8 of them, Randy can correct me later, that he has a stake in, took in $3 million in PPP small loans, which when you do the math makes absolutely no sense. Coincidence? I think not. And the list goes on and on every single day of what the governor of California is doing to suppress us and enrich himself and not paying attention to the state.
So, Mike, I understand that HP has also packed up their bags and left the state.
They're gone. They're moving in Texas.
Yeah, I know. And so has our waste management system and, a lot of other businesses along the way. And so I have to ask, where is the big money to support this cause? Where is the corporate donors? Where are you folks? Where is Elon Musk when you can stay here and help us fight to save your factories, to save your workers, to save your businesses. And where are you folks when the people have come together and they're offering this opportunity to you guys, to you folks, to join this cause, to bring those resources to bear, and to send a message to this government, to this governor, and remove him from office, but send a message across the nation to any like-minded government official that we've had enough. We're not going to take it anymore, and we're standing up for our rights, and we're going to defend what is rightfully ours, and we're going to run you out of office. Where are you folks?
Right, and it's time we got their attention. And Graham, I'm going to introduce our first guest, Graham is a very delighted to have him tonight. He's really good friends with Randy Economy, our other guest. They both live out in the desert somewhere. I don't want to give him your exact location. Okay. But no, I guess I shouldn't have brought that up. But Graham has been, for all of you that watch One America News, Graham most recently was the main anchor person on One America News. He's been on KFAB in San Diego. You've a number of Emmys, etc. And I'm very excited to have him join our cause. Graham's going to tell us a lot of things tonight, talk about the number of signatures we have, Graham, I'm going to let you speak for yourself and ask you a few questions. And here's Graham Ledger.
Well, I'm fresh from a rally in Riverside County in an area called El Paseo in Palm Desert. And El Paseo, in case you don't know, is basically the Rodeo Drive of the desert. And there's some very fine shops and restaurants in there. And there are people that want to operate their businesses, but they're being told by the Marxists. And, you're wondering about Gavin Newsom. It's very simple to me who and what he is. He's a Marxist. And this is what Marxists do. And I'll explain a little bit later. But I'm fresh from a rally where there are a couple hundred people with signs and complimenting the sheriff of Riverside County, Sheriff Bianco, who's saying, I'm not going to enforce these unconstitutional orders that Gavin Newsom is imposing on the people of California, ostensibly because of the Wuhan coronavirus. And I say ostensibly because if you study the virus the way I have, you realize that everything that's being done by this Marxist and the Marxists in New York and the Marxists in Illinois is exactly the opposite of what a society should be doing. For example, school children. School children need to be in school, not only to learn, not only for their mental health, but to help establish what we call herd immunity. And people need to be out in the fresh air. Instead, we're doing exactly the opposite if you follow what Gavin Newsom is doing. And so these folks are saying no more. And what I'm trying to suggest to people is, in a very delicate way, or maybe not so delicate way, maybe in the spirit of our founding fathers. And that is, the time for protest is over. We, in our own way, need to resist. And in this case, these folks on El Paseo are saying, hey, open up the restaurants so we can eat, put the tables out so we can live a normal life. I, resist in every way I can. For example, I refuse to wear a mask wherever and whenever I can, mainly because I believe it's an attack on my First Amendment rights. But there's another way for folks in California to get involved and to push back against the Marxists in Sacramento. And that's to sign on to the recall. And I wanted my national audience to see me and understand that I am fully engaged and fully involved in the effort to recall the governor of California. And I know I'm hogging up all the time, but I want you to ask me. I want you to ask me about something, because we've been through this before. I want you to ask me about 2003. I'm a former member of the mainstream media, as you pointed out. I was on KFMB, the CBS affiliate in San Diego, for many, many years. I anchored the news for many, many years there, and I had my national television talk show. And now I do the Ledger Report podcast. Who knows what I'm going to be doing in the future, but that's what I'm doing right now. But in many years, I was a member of the mainstream media, and I'm recovering from it, guys. It's a 12-step process. I'm on step number 11. I'm doing pretty well. I'm almost there. But I can tell you what happened in 2003 if you want to hear it.
I do want to hear it, and I was going to ask you, Graham, so go ahead. Because it's important that people understand the journey of where we're going and how, we talk about big announcements and the signatures that we placed on there, but talk about the journey, because we're at that tipping point now.
I don't want to steal your thunder, But I
Steal
just
my
want to be
thunder.
clear as a former newscaster. Here it is, mainstream media, if you're listening. The big announcement, as was alluded to by Mike and the precursor report there, that just kind of, was one of these reports that just got lost in a newscast, that you all have somewhere in the neighborhood of 800,000 signatures that you're dropping right now onto the Secretary of State of California, who is like this with the governor. This Alex Padilla is like this with the governor. And he's saying to the governor right now, hey, dude, they're dropping hundreds of thousands of signatures on you, and they're going to potentially recall your rear end. So if you're a Marxist governor and you have the power under the auspices of the Wuhan coronavirus to shut things down and shut down the recall, what are you going to do? You have to work within the confines of the law, but you're going to shut down your economy. So Mike and Orrin and company can't get their job down, can't get out and get the signatures. Well, that's not going to happen. And the people of California need to push back, not only because this is unconstitutional, but they need to read the tea leaves and read this Marxist in Sacramento and understand that he needs to be recalled. And we need to do everything we can to push back against this guy. Now, back to 2003. This is the dirty little secret. Mike, you mentioned that the mainstream media is afraid to report. They're not afraid. They're not afraid. They're in on it. They're protecting them, just like we're seeing at the federal level. And the voter corruption and the voter fraud that took place in the swing states of Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania and Georgia, and possibly in Arizona and Nevada as well. The media knows there was election malfeasance, but they're ignoring it. And so in 2003, yours truly was anchoring the news in San Diego. And so I would go up to the news director at the time, and I'm not afraid to say his name. I don't know if he's still out there in some sort of managerial position. I don't care. His name is Fred D'Ambrosi. And I would go up to Freddie and I would say, hey, Fred, there's an effort to recall Gray Davis. This was in 2003. And he would laugh at me. He would mock me. He would say, fat chance, it's never going to happen. And then a couple of weeks later, I would come to him and I would say, hey, Fred, we're, hitting around 500,000 signatures. It's never going to happen. You're crazy. You're one of those wingnuts, they used to call us back then. You're just a wingnut. You're lucky to be on TV with all your brethren who are lunatic, liberal, left, Marxist socialists. I was this one guy fighting these fighting these battles behind the scenes that nobody knew about. This was Graham Ledger fighting to report a bona fide news story until one day the recall effort hit that magic number. What was it back then, Mike? Around 800, 900,000?
900,000, exactly.
900,000. And boom, suddenly, Fred D'Ambrosi and company and all the other members of the mainstream media in 2003 could not ignore it anymore. And this is what needs to happen today in this effort over the next 4 months. And that is bring it on in a grassroots level. Don't worry about the media right now. There will be a point in time where they cannot ignore it anymore. Just do your job. Let's get the job done and let the mainstream media eat crow like it did in 2003.
And talk about the recall Saturdays. You made a good point when I talked to you on the phone this morning, how the number of Saturdays once the year turns is about 11. And we may not need to use all 11 Saturdays, but I like what you brought up, that no matter how much we reach out to them, they're starting to have to pay attention, but they really have to pay attention if every Saturday. Back to you, Graham.
Well, on your website, you have a marvelous little device in there that shows people where the permanent recall locations are in San Diego County or Riverside County, Los Angeles County, San Francisco County, San Mateo, Sacramento area. And so I'm suggesting, if you look at the calendar in the beginning of the year, there are 11, as you mentioned, 11 Saturdays. Every day should be Recall Gavin Newsom Day, but some of us still work, not everybody. There are a lot of people still working and they have, weekends off. And that's when a lot of people are milling about in different areas of the state. And it's my thought that we turn every Saturday in the new year through March 17th. St. Patrick's Day, which happens to be the final day of the recall effort. And then, like you said, maybe it'll happen sooner than that. Who knows? But let's finish strong. That's what I always taught my daughter, right? Finish strong. You run through the tapes. Let's run through the tape. And maybe we turn Saturday, late morning, early afternoon into recall Saturdays. And we hit the restaurants that are being hammered by this Marxist. And we hit some of the businesses that are open. For example, the gun shops. You have a lot of gun shops on there, right, Mike?
Mm-hmm.
And we get this thing through and we finish strong. And we volunteer hour, a half hour. You know, the great thing that you have going for you in this recall versus 2003 is you have a heck of a lot more resources, I believe, at your ready that we really didn't have in 2003. Yeah, we had computers, we had websites. In 2003, you could print up ballots, but it's a lot more liberal now in that sense, and people can print up those ballots, as you mentioned. What can people do? They can go to the website, recall Gavin 2020, and print out the petitions, wet sign it. You know, people ask me all the time, well, can I sign it online? No, it's got to be a wet signature, and then get your neighbor to sign or a couple of people to sign, and then turn it in. It's pretty simple, right?
And I think it's real important to note too that, yep, and it's important to note as volunteers go, we've got to move to the small businesses, right? We have to go business to business and make sure those people that have been trying to run their small businesses, if they're still open, get in there, drop us some petitions, get them to sign. In spite of the 800,000 that we have now, it's still a little bit of an untapped territory, right? Because we've been waiting for all these people to come to us. It's important that we do what a lot of volunteers are already doing, go out to them. I know in Glendora, the California Republican Party here is starting to go door to door. More and more you're seeing, like we saw at the beginning of our videos tonight, the small businesses themselves making their own videos screaming, we're getting economically choked to death. Graham, anything you want to add before we move on here?
I
appreciate you coming on.
I think you touched on something that's very important. And that is, I always say, unfortunately, whether you like it or not, you know, the other 49 states, as California goes, often so goes the rest of the country. And if you want Gavin Newsom as potentially your president of the United States one day, or if you want some of the crazy, crazy laws imposed upon you in the 49 other states, like this crazy law that allows pedophiles to get away with their crimes if they happen to fall into a certain time period of their victim within 10 years. I mean, this kind of cockamamie stuff, or a wide open, potentially wide open southern border where you're giving illegal immigrants not only our constitutional rights, but our money. If you want that in the 49 other states, then don't get involved and don't help out. You can help out in the 49 other states. It doesn't mean that you necessarily have to come to California and help people sign. You can donate. You can help the Recall Gavin 2020 by donating a couple of bucks, because it's an expensive process. These signatures, for example, Mike, these signatures, as you know, you don't have to go into this in grave detail, but they have to be verified. And not only verified by the Secretary of State, but verified by your people first, vetted, make sure there's not duplicates and things like that, because you want to have as few errors as possible at the Secretary of State. And one more thing before I run and you move on here. I want to point out that, you know, you held on to a lot of these signatures. And so the reporting numbers have been pretty static and pretty depressing, frankly, since July, at around 55,000. That is not going to be the number come the first of the year, is it?
Nope. We are dropping. We are now delivering those petitions out there. Orange smiling. I know you want to say something, Orange. Should I let you?
Well,
I guess not.
Yes, we are delivering those, and that is partly my fault that those were held back. We looked at that as a strategic movement, and you always have to keep the enemy guessing on what you have in reserve, so they don't know that we flew under the radar for the first half of this game, and we were able to get what we have done. And then now all of a sudden, 1-2 punch, here we come. We had Kevin Kiley win his lawsuit in Yuba County or Sutter County in Yuba City. And then we won our lawsuit to get an extension, and wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. We're already halfway there with a reset button, a restart button to start all over again. And we have until March 17th to get this done. We need everybody out there to get their signatures into us by March 10th. I don't want to mix any dates up. Everybody out there needs to turn their signatures into us by March 10th so we can process them and then get them to their prospective county registrars. But we have a reset button and we are halfway there, folks.
Well, and it's a perfect glide in to like our next guest. I'll let Graham finish with a few words
I just
here.
want to say thank you. And I think God, this is, I think God intervened in this court case and it gave you a second life, if you will. So these signatures are going to drop. And Gavin Newsom's jaw is going to drop as these signatures drop. And I'm telling you, this is one of the motivations, if not the key motivation, for his crackdown, lockdown on the good people of California. And the silent majority in California, you're a business owner, you're a bar owner, you are a barber, you own a hair salon, you're trying to make a buck in this state. It's time for you to pay attention and step up and be the patriot that you are and get rid of this maniacal Marxist creature in Sacramento.
Thank you, Graham.
And Graham, on that note, people who are business owners, salon owners, restaurant owners, they can go to recallgavin2020.com and they can click on the take action button. They can download their business information and they can become a signing station in their county. So we have county information, the county teams, and the business owners and can go in and enter themselves. They can enter their own information as a participant and they can start taking signatures at their business to get this done, to help get this done. Help us help you.
And by the way, before we flip to Randy on that, I want to throw out a statistic here that I'm amazed at. For those of you out of context that don't understand, the average business with a really good website gets about, if you get 2,000 people a day, imagine it as a store going to your website, you've got a really good marketing department. The last 2 months, recallgavin2020.com has had over 270,000 people a month coming to the website. So for businesses out there that want to carry the petition, that's 270,000 potential customers, you heard correctly, that could see you on the website. It's a real win-win.
Hey, congratulations.
And now,
congratulations. Keep it going.
That's we just got to get everybody to sign. Now I want to flip to our next guest here. We always try to stay in the confines of the show. We always screw it up. So why should tonight be any different? But what the heck here? So as we grow, Orrin wants to take credit for holding the petitions. No, Orrin, it wasn't necessarily you. We're upping our game. We brought on a gentleman here who I'd like to give all his credentials for, but who's got the time?
Yeah, exactly.
Randy Economy has done all kinds of magical things. He has connections to Washington. He's done a radio show. He's worked on a wide variety of campaigns. We're very welcome and blessed to have him on board. And I'm going to mute Orrin so Randy can get a few words in.
Don't you dare mute me.
He just did. Can you hear me now, America? Hey, everybody. It's great to be here. And it was also great to be here with my friend, Graham Ledger. And Graham and I are actually really dear friends. He lives on one side of the Coachella Valley and I live on the other side. But the greatest thing is being able to have friends like this in politics who think alike and just become really close. And I'm very, very blessed. Anyway, I've been in politics my entire life. As a matter of fact, my mom is kind of sitting here in the same room. And when I was a little kid, she was a very active campaign advisor to people like former President Jimmy Carter. And I just thought that's what moms did. And I just thought that's what dads did. And I realized at a very young age that I was lucky, and I was lucky to be able to have been brought up in a political environment. And I think now that we have this greatest tool in American history that was invented by Al Gore called the internet. We have the ability to go ahead and talk to each other every day, every second, every minute if we want to, in regards to what's not only happening here, but happening around the world. And I want to let you know what you're experiencing right now, and what we are experiencing right now with this campaign is the greatest grassroots movement in the history of American politics. And I don't say that lightly, but I say that with a very strong hand. Each and every one of you have to realize that this campaign is in our hands. It's in people in Tulare and Visalia and Los Angeles and Pico Rivera, and it's from everybody from all walks of life. I'm a proud former Democrat. I had to leave the party because it was unrecognizable. And I left the party probably about 15 years ago. I actually ran for chairman of the Los Angeles County Democratic Party. Tell you about how they stack elections. I was given an anonymous note probably 3 weeks before the party election. And I got a note saying, oh, they're gonna change the ballot box on you during the counting of the ballots, and you're gonna end up with 11 votes. Well, I thought that's got to be insane. I mean, how can you change the ballot box in the middle of counting ballots? Well, son of a gun, that night came, and I got 11 votes. And I know I won that election, but the powers to be with the California Republican Party and the Los Angeles County Democratic Party said, nope, you're not the one. We're going to stick with our guy, and that guy ended up going to become the chairman of the California Democratic Party. His name is Eric Bauman. And well, that didn't turn out so well. He was forced to resign, and the rest is history. But I want to let you know that the White House is paying attention to this campaign. I am in contact with the White House on a daily basis, sometimes as much as an hourly basis. And what we are doing here in California is not only resonating, they're following what we're doing very, very closely. And to me, as somebody who is coming on board to help with this movement, with the media, and with helping, lend some political insights on some strategy back and forth, that's exciting for me. And it's not only because of what it is that Gavin Newsom represents, it's because of what each and every one of you have done here in California to get to this point on this recall. And it's nothing more short than a miracle if you really stop and think what we've been able to accomplish with a very, very much shoestring budget. We have bills to pay, we have money we have to raise, we have signatures that we have to gather. And it's not by chance that this pandemic we've all been forced to go inside our houses for the next 21 days. It'll be more than 21 days. It'll be as long as Gavin Newsom can try to keep us locked up. And it ain't going to happen, because we have the ability and we have the right under the Constitution of the United States, regardless if there's a pandemic or whatever they're calling this week, we have the right to be able to congregate and to participate in politics and to campaign. Nobody's ever going to take that away. And if anybody does, you just need to refer them basically to, if anybody ever gets stopped in this movement and saying, you can't do this because of the pandemic, basically tell them to blow it out their ear. And we have a great legal team. We got Mark Moiser, who's one of the premier constitutional attorneys in America, on board. We also have Graham Ledger. Graham is an amazing constitutional expert in so many different ways. As a matter of fact, when Graham and I will go down to happy hour every once in a while down here in the desert, he's very proud of knowing the fact that there's certain things you can and can't do in this country, and you cannot dictate your will and your political agenda over the Constitution. And I think we need to keep mindful. We need to keep mind of that, and we need to continue to work as hard as we can. We did a great interview today. Orrin and I did with the LA bureau chief with the Associated Press, and they're going to be publishing that story within the next day or two. We've been on the phone with the San Francisco Chronicle, as I hope everybody can go ahead and Google that story. If not, we'll put it up on the website. But we're also doing other things where we're reaching out with other types of media, whether it be in Bakersfield or Fresno or Los Angeles or here in the desert or San Diego or Sacramento. We're working with those local news teams as well to educate them and to go ahead and try to generate as much free publicity as we can. I've been talking also to Andrew Gruelle. He's an amazing guy. He was on CNN and Fox News last night. He's a restaurateur in Southern California that has been closed down because of the Newsom pandemic. And he said, screw it, I'm not going to take this anymore. And so Andrew is one of the most talented chefs and most talented restaurateurs in California, has very successful businesses, and he's on board 100%. And it's these types of people that we need to continue to harvest, to continue to reach out to. The California Restaurant Association, they're a great group of people that could help us, and we're in conversations with them also. The California Chamber of Commerce. I can't for the life of me understand why the California Chamber of Commerce isn't 1,000% engaged on this recall. So again, remember, the official website for this recall is www.recallgavin2020.com. That is the official website. There are other people out there that's trying to, utilize what we're doing here for their own political gain. And frankly, we're not going to put up with it. I mean, this grassroots movement belongs to us. We're not going to let anybody hijack it, and we're not going to let anybody take advantage of what it is, the hard work that we've been able to do for the last several months. So anyway, it's great to be here. I'm honored. I'm blessed. I'm going to work my ass off continually for the next couple of months to get this thing done. And again, thank you so much, Oren and Mike and everybody and Susan and Robin. I just freaking love you guys, man. We're having a blast. So thanks you so much.
Thank you, and thank you so much for joining a team. We appreciate and understand what you heard tonight, that when I talked about the movement growing, the White House is actually paying attention to this. People are paying attention to this. So I also want to state, and it's my job to kind of watch the feed each week, which gets harder and harder to do. Remind everybody, we get a lot of new people each week that come. And on recallgavin2020.com, the reason we have Facebook groups set up, not only main groups where you're watching, some of you watching the feed tonight, but a group for each county, is so you can publicize events and exchange ideas. That's really important. The movement has literally grown so big, the recall itself, it's almost impossible to keep up with everything. Just singly alone, I was asked to comment on the Plump Jack story. 8 of his companies took in $3 million this week. That broke in the mainstream in ABC7. Think about that. Those stories are breaking on their own. We could do a whole show just on that. Literally, the last week, there have been probably 5 things that are broken that could create a whole hour and a half of conversation. Everybody is gradually agreeing on one thing. We need to recall Gavin Newsom. And everybody is unequivocally agreed. The only way to do it is get out there, distribute petitions, and get signatures. Recallgavin2020.com is the way to do it. Oren, you muted yourself, which is very rare. Well, Oren went missing. But I'll leave that open there. That's okay. If I get more airtime, it really doesn't hurt me at all. Usually him and I are arguing for it. Some of the questions that we have here tonight are where there's events and where things are happening. There's a big one in San Diego. I don't know if it's Friday or Saturday. There's another big one at the Pineapple one on Pineapple Bar and Grill or whatever it's called. I'm going to be at Kitson's again, which is whatever, on Friday, where we have a group of recall volunteers out. But more importantly, create your own energy. Get out there and create it yourselves. We need donations. Anybody listening here, we need money just to power the infrastructure. And the article I read at the beginning of the show was very telling. Gavin Newsom is deathly afraid that one even quasi-large donation could power the infrastructure to get the word out. But even if we don't get it, and Oren doesn't like me saying this, the people themselves are going to do it. Really understand that every week we have new people join this. We get Orrin and I and Randy and everybody involved in this, and Robin and Suzanne, spent our entire days dealing with people that say, I just found out about the recall. How long has this been going on? You're like, really, where have you been? Wow. But we don't realize that many people, they're watching. We get it. You're watching the mainstream television. You're not paying attention. You turned off the TV entirely. Probably if a major event happened in the world, it would take me 3 days to get it if it didn't have to do with the governor of California. I don't really watch the mainstream media anymore, but it's kind of like religion a little bit. It's up to us to spread the word. It's up to everybody here exponentially to go out and do it. Instructions how to do it are on the website. Everybody knows that. This is one of the easiest things. And Randy, you talked a little bit about how they change election rules. We had questions with One America News. There's Orrin. We talked about One America News, and there's been talk about that and elections. Listen, there is nothing anybody can do to stop a recall once we get the signatures. We're using the money we have to have them verified. Got it? And when we turn them in, we know that they're good signatures. We need to turn over the amount we need. They cannot do anything to stop a recall on the ballot. It even gets around the jungle primary, as you've heard me talk about many a time. Orrin?
That's true. And
well, thank you for verifying me, Orrin. I feel much better.
I just want to shout out to Lana in Beverly Hills. Thank you so much for your donation. And Randy, thank you for coming on. Graham, God bless you. And thank you for your endorsement and coming on and talking with our crowd tonight. I think that, we ought to use the remaining moments of the show and answer some questions.
We should. And some of the questions, let's take a look at some of the ones we have. I'm going to go to the question and answer feed. I try to answer to them as I go. Again, the one about the Plump Jack Winery, it's almost appalling. I don't want to go on too much about why Gavin Newsom's companies are taking in $3 million from the government they shouldn't be. The EDD with our tax money is handing them out to people that are in prison. Get your arms around that for a second.
But Mike, his companies are in a blind trust. He has no idea where they're spending their money or where they're getting it. How can he have anything to do with how his companies are managed? For
Look,
goodness.
when you use words no idea and Gavin Newsom, I can kind of buy that because Gavin pretty much has no idea what he's doing on any given day. But let's assume that the people around him do have triple digit IQs. And I know I'm pushing the envelope when I say that, but let's assume for a second they do. Even if they're in a blind trust, the companies, when he eventually moves on to whatever that is, and hopefully sooner than later, will be worth more money. And how come it always rotates back to Gavin Newsom? How come the EDD told Gavin in April, dude, they kind of got this thing exploding because everybody sent home. And we have only 17 investigators for the entire state of California to keep track of this. And Gavin, we're only one of 35 states, thanks to the internet, or not to the internet, that doesn't track the people in jail against the people applying for unemployment. Gavin did nothing.
So Mighty Mike, I don't know if you guys can see me or hear me while I'm reading the comments, but Sonia says, please join us tomorrow in San Diego, big recall and support small businesses, 3 p.m. at San Diego Administrative Building on 1600 Pacific Coast Highway, San Diego. Please join us. We'll be there with tables and tents and banners and lots of petitions. See you there. So Sonia, thank you very much. And just a reminder, to the people out there listening, Mike, and we only have a couple minutes left, but protests are absolutely allowed under this governor's rule. So if you're protesting something, if you want to go out and protest and have a meal indoors, you can do that because protests are allowed. And Mike, remember, what you said last week. If you carry a petition with you, that is a First Amendment redress on the government, and it is a First Amendment right to protest. So Have your petitions ready, have them available. And
So,
take
just in
your
other words,
signature.
God bless Riverside County that isn't enforcing it. God bless the Los Angeles Sheriff Alex that isn't enforcing it in Orange County. But if somebody happens to pull you over, or somebody says, "What are you doing out? You're supposed to be at the stay-at-home order," you can say, "Nope." Whip out your recallgavin2020.com petition, because then you're in a political protest. And I hope that I never hoped I would get a ticket before, but I'm just hoping I can walk around LA and get a ticket while carrying a petition. Randy, and Graham's not here anymore, but I think that might be a really good visual for the network news if that was to happen.
So real quick,
Randy?
Mike, like I said, you're on words in edgewise between Mike and Orrin. You can fit one in if you can get one in. But Christine says it takes money to verify signatures. Christine, you're absolutely right. It takes money to verify signatures. It takes money to get signatures. It takes money to do advertising and other things that we do. Everything we're doing takes money. Connie says, good one, Warren, tongue in cheek. I don't know what you meant, Connie, but okay, we'll go with that.
You can't get a word in edgewise, Warren.
I was just going to say, we got to defer to the ladies
men.
here. Yes.
All right, you guys. Like Graham Ledger said, we have over 750,000, practically 800,000 signatures verified. And that means with the company that's verifying signatures with us. Last night on our Tuesday night meeting with all the volunteers, our regional managers, and our authorized personnel who are in charge of counting the petitions, doing the first verification and sending them on, I pleaded for a new count. I know that only a third of those people have entered their counts. And as of today, we're at 816,000 signatures.
Woo!
That is pretty awesome. And a huge shout out to all of you that made time to enter your new counts today. That is terrific. And I know for a fact, I'm not going to guesstimate over because I like to hammer Mike when he does that to get people a false hope, but I know for a fact there are a lot more out there than this 816. People just haven't had time to enter their counts. So
God bless you, Robin, for that. You got to come in like a wedge on a piece of oak sometimes to get a word in this.
I gotta slap you both.
Where did you come up with a wedge on a piece of oak? Susan, is there anything you would like to say?
Oh, no, I haven't.
Well, glad to hear it, Susan. Thanks a lot.
Yes. I haven't been able to get in there.
We haven't even gotten to the hate mail yet, Mike.
I don't even
think
try
we're gonna
getting
get
in
a
on this
chance.
thing.
I did hear, by the way, one of our main OC regional managers.
Oh, yes, you are, Dan.
Oh, yeah. Tell them about this.
Okay. One of our main regional managers today happens to be her birthday. And so I'm going to give a shout out to Leanna. That's kind of special. She's been one of our special volunteers doing that. Dan, do you guys want to take a couple minutes and read some of the wild and zany things that we get? Dan?
I just want to say happy 29th birthday, Leanna.
Happy birthday, Leanna. And thank you for being on our team and all your hard work.
And everybody out there, God bless all of you. And even God bless the people that write us. Dan, do you have a couple lined up that are just kind of funny?
Actually, I'm going to show you.
Okay.
Wow.
The reason we're doing this, folks, is you have to understand that literally 99.5% of everything people that say us are all for the cause. This is a great one. Somebody took one of our flyers, took time with a red pen, and called us a cult, which I kind of consider a compliment.
This is all about littering, apparently.
Stop.
We are littering on people's houses. So which is not
somebody
illegal
that
for
our cult
political.
needs an education is like littering. This is against the law. Of course, nothing else Gavin does is, of course, against the law. So, boy, I really would like to if we still have that address, I would love to go over there and take that fine personally. That's a court case I would like to go to. Courts aren't open.
All right, moving right along, Dan.
Here's the next one.
Sorry, Mike.
That's all right.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Whoa,
You didn't bleep out the
Nice.
the thing.
Apparently, I forgot to bleep something.
Oh no, there's
Wow.
no, okay, get that off the screen right now.
Okay, the next one's a little
Wow.
worse.
Good Lord,
Then you better not put it up.
Ugh, that's gritty.
Whoop.
No.
This is our friends
All right.
talking to us. So apparently we've hit nerves out there.
Keep
So on
scrolling.
that
Keep
note,
scrolling.
You can see that I have not had a chance to moderate what they're doing.
That's probably from Eric Garcetti.
It's garbage.
probably is. Anyway, on that happy note, thank you for everybody coming tonight. Orrin, if you have any final words, too bad for you. Randy, thank us for being on the show. Susan, Robin, everybody that comes every week and for everything we do. God bless us all. And whatever we do every day, remember, no matter what happens tomorrow, California, there's hope because we're going to recall Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, we are.
Thank you very much.
Remember,
Gavin,
if you end every sentence with "and" like Mike does, it's tough to get a word in edgeways.
That's my point.
Hey, I think everyone
And-
should know that the Secretary of State will update on December 14th, but the date really to look forward to, because we're trying to get all these delivered to the county, is January 13 is going to be a big number on their report. So just so all of you know when they are scheduled to do their update.
Aaron says, "Love you, Robin."
okay, and since I didn't get any words,
Thanks, Aaron.
we need some more boots on the ground. If you're willing to be a volunteer, send us an email. And I'm going to put my email on the chat screen, but it's susan.recallgavin2020@gmail.com. And it's on the chat screen.
And I'm going to end it with recallgavin2020.com.
All right. Good night now, and thank you very much. Remember, it's all about the recall.
Yep.
Yep.
See
Bye,
everyone next
everybody.
week.
Bye,
Bye.
Aaron.
And